friends, and welcome to episode 1 of the Charcoal Selfie series. During this unit, we are going to be learning how to draw a realistic human face. And I know that might feel a little bit intimidating because I'm assuming most of you have attempted to draw a human in the past, and you might not have had a whole lot of success while trying it on your own. But you should know that during this unit, I'm going to be walking you through step by step to learn all of the different facial features and have a really good understanding of the techniques before you're expected to work on your final project. The final project for this unit is really exciting. I always love this project because students find a lot of success in the end and they always surprise themselves with how well they turn out. The project itself is to create a charcoal selfie. So you will be eventually drawing yourself with a black and white photo reference photo to draw from, and you'll be copying those values onto a gray toned piece of paper. You will also, in your photo, be holding an object in front of one of your facial features, and the object in your picture that you're drawing will be color, while the rest of the picture that you're drawing will be black and white from the charcoal. You should know that for this project, you are not just focused on learning how to draw the actual facial features. So rather than learning how to draw an eye on your own or a mouth on your own, we're really focused on learning how to shade those things correctly. And I think that's a really great way to start, especially in an introduction class like this. Rather than just trying to do a free draw, we will be using a transfer method. So you'll learn in these following episodes how to transfer the details of a reference photo and provide yourself with an outline so that your main focus can be just learning how to shade realistically. So that should be a comfort to you, knowing that we will be using a transfer method and you will not be expected to just know how to draw these things freehand. We are going to be completing a lot of skill building activities before you actually get started on your project. The first task you'll complete after this episode is a brainstorm where you're coming up with different ideas for your positioning for your final project. And we begin with this, although we still have a lot of practices to do before you're ready to actually draw this part of your project, so that we have enough time to take your photos. So we will have a couple of days in class where I will have a photo station set up right here where I'm sitting, because it's right in front of a window, because we can hang a curtain right behind me so you have some privacy, and because I have a lot of really great objects that you might consider using to cover one of your facial features. So we will have a couple of days in class where we are taking those photos. And there is one way to avoid that, which is to come to class with your photo already taken in the correct way. But the first step is to just kind of brainstorm what you want your project to look like. So you need to be thinking through which objects you're considering using, what meaning that might have based on the object that you choose to incorporate in your self-portrait. You also need to consider which facial feature you're going to be covering, and just overall what you want the meaning of your drawing to be. So this brainstorm will help you figure out all of those things before you're actually taking your photo, and it'll give us a chance to take it early on in the project so that we can make sure everyone has a photo before we're actually started on that portion of the project. If you would like to take your photo at home, you just have to make sure that you are sitting in front of a window because you want to have good natural lighting. You want to make sure that you are taking it with your phone or having someone take your photo for you from far away. You don't want to be like holding your own phone, like this is not an actual selfie, because that gives you a weird angle. It usually makes like your chin kind of larger. It makes it harder to see the objects. So if you do choose to take your photo outside of class and you want to be able to use it for this project, it needs to either be resting somewhere and you've set a timer, or you have someone else helping you to take your photo. You also need to be aware of the type of lighting. So it's usually best to be sitting next to a window so that you have not as many shadows filling your face, but you do want to have some contrast. So you want to make sure that you're not completely washed out, or on the other end that you don't have too many shadows. So getting that lighting accurate is going to be up to you. You also are only allowed to cover one facial feature. So if you are holding an object, it can't like cover the entire bottom half of your face. It needs to either be your mouth or your nose or an eye. So you need to think through which facial feature you're covering and then make sure that you are only covering that one, since I won't be there to help you. So if you would like to avoid taking your photo in class, you have to take your photo before we actually have our photo days. So you need to come to class with that photo already taken. Otherwise, I'll take a backup photo for you, and if you would rather go home later and replace it with a picture that you like more and take a different photo, that's totally fine. You just need to still take a photo in class unless you have one that gets approved by me before the actual photo days. While you're thinking of the photo that you're going to take for this project, there are some things to consider, and I'm going to show you just using this little bottle of white chalk pastel. So I'm going to just practice this with you, and I know when I'm taking your photos, students are always like slightly embarrassed, but you don't need to be. It's just me. I promise I won't make fun of you or make you feel silly, but it is sort of just a silly thing, so let's just go with it. So a couple of things that you could consider is like if you wanted to cover your nose, so we can only cover it like this much because we can't be covering too much of our facial features. So I could cover it and have like only the one that's covered up. And if I wanted to, I could consider like different facial expressions that I wanted to do. So I could be like looking up, I could be like giving you the death stare. I could be like raising one eyebrow. There's lots of different facial features that you might consider while you're taking your photo. So feel free to like get weird. It doesn't have to be like this awkward thing between you and me because I'll be taking your photos. So covering your nose was an option. When you're covering your eye, you have lots of different possibilities for like hand placement. So you need to kind of think through how you're drawing your hands too, because if you just have this and it's like covering your eye, that's not as interesting as if you were like holding it out. You can have your fingers kind of like draped. You can like have your arm like coming around. You could be covering your mouth and have like both hands up. You could, I don't know, there's 1,000 options, but just thinking through like how you're going to cover your facial features. It could be from the side, it could like be from the back. I don't know. There's lots of different possibilities. So just thinking through your positioning before we are together and I'm taking your photo is important so that we can make these photos go quickly and get everyone cycled through so that we can take down the curtain that will be up behind me. So students who are not having their photo currently taken will be watching the following episodes and learning how to complete all of these skill building activities. You'll begin by receiving a little packet that looks like this, and it has one page that says charcoal selfie. You're going to cut this out and make sure that you leave this little section that's on the side, that little tab, because that's how you're going to tape it onto your half sheet of gray paper. You will also cut out this value scale and you're going to separate that from this piece, and then you're going to hole punch each of those values the way that we did for our last project, so you can use it to kind of just check and see which values are which and whether they match in your drawing. So this is going to be the image that we use to transfer with, which means that we're going to be drawing on it, which you'll learn in the next episode. But that means that we do need to have an additional picture that you can use as your reference page. So you'll have this next to you as you're working on all of the rest of our skill building activities for this project. So make sure you don't lose this page. So that's the first part of this, and when you're finished, you'll have a skill building project that looks like this, where you have practiced using the charcoal and having all of those tones smoothly fade together. You'll have practiced a hand, a nose, a mouth, an eye, and hair. So all of the main things that you'll need to know before you actually get started working on your final project. Once you've finished this skill building, we will move into our last skill building before the final project, which is the colored pencil practice. So you're going to be practicing a technique called varnishing, and you'll be transitioning from one color to the next. So those are the two main things. Varnishing and smooth transitions are our main focuses for this practice. But you'll also have a chance to practice the colored portion of your project that you're doing for your final. So we'll be transferring from your main picture that we take of you, your selfie, onto this bottom portion and practicing just a little bit of color on it. So that will be our last skill building before you get started working on your self-portrait. I wanted to show you some student examples of this project because they are truly impressive, and I have been so proud of students that have done this project in the past because they have just nailed it. So I'm going to show you a couple of those examples, and then we will move on to the brainstorm you'll complete before taking your photo. This is an excellent student example, and I wanted to show you the photo that we took in class compared to the drawing that he completed. And as you can see, there are some really amazing details in this piece. You'll notice that the background has a gradient value, similar to what you'll see in this other example, although they are reversed. So again, here is a photo of the student in class compared to her drawing, and they both did a wonderful job with this project, and I'm sure you will too. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this episode. I'm really excited to see what you guys are able to create during this unit, and I know that you're going to impress yourselves because you have all of the steps and all of the skills demonstrated for you in a really easy to follow way. So even if you've not had success drawing people in the past, I think that that is about to change. Thanks for watching.